I want you to get the real reality of what's happening overseas. See, a lot of these people, not bad. A lot of these people really do want you to believe that every woman in the world hates you, right? And every woman in the world has these perfect lives, right? I'm gonna I'm gonna show you automatically, right? Where tell you the real facts, right? A lot of women get treated like shit overseas, right? A lot of women get treated like property, meat. Um, there's consequences for every action that women do overseas, right? If a woman dates a gangster and the rival finds out who the girlfriend is, 9 times out of 10 they get her out of here just to spite him. There's how savage these guys are. They will go into old house full of people and get rid of everybody there because you associate with the wrong person. If a guy get jealous, that's the end of your life. A lot of men overseas are very harsh with their criticism. No, they're very harsh with their judgment. They're very beautiful girls, maybe to you, maybe to somebody else, but to their own race, uh, they're not, right? I told you the story of a Japanese guy who told me how to view women in a way, in the way they see them. Like, you all gotta understand that a lot of these guys, the women that you view beautiful, a lot of other men in those cultures and those races, they don't view them. White dudes are very harsh towards white women. Latino dudes are very harsh to Latino girls. Asian guys are very harsh to Asian girls. It's it's a whole thing, right? You might think somebody's the baddest on the planet or whatever, and some guys might look at them and say, "Ugh, she ugly," right? It's like, what you talking about? That's why I say, um, I'll put it there. This woman here, this girl here, 22 years old, jumped out of her window and took her own life. As you see, femme cell queen. Now, the 4B movement, all the women who don't want to be in relationships and stuff like that, overseas, it's a very, very, very lonely life when you're not liked by other people, right? So, this young woman jumped out of her window. And this was her last post right there. The one at 450, I know, 473K. She was talking about her life as an ugly woman. Now, mind you, she, from my research, wanted the Chad. The Chad didn't like her. So it made her life miserable that she couldn't get the Chad. That's what a lot of these femme cells really are. Now, overseas is prominent, right? Women will self-delete themselves if they can't stay with the Chad, right? That's the difference between over here. Women won't be miserable forever. They're just ended. They hang themselves. They jump out the window. They One of the things in some of these other countries is jump in front of a train or lay down and let the train run them over. There's a lot of beautiful women who are now in the ground. Or they would self-delete with their boyfriends because the parents don't agree with it. So this is what she looks like. She using filters and fillers. She is what an incel is over here. She at the bottom totem pole. And when it comes down to looks, she's not the only one. So there's a lot of people that are very, very dishonest about passport bros and women not liking them and women not liking passport bros. Imagine that this girl, whoa, they said she was sick and she had some kind of disease, right? But imagine if she got with a black dude who liked her for who she was and tried to help her get clean. If she was open to that, it could have saved her life. See, my theory about the mismatch, remember I said that about the mismatch? What happens when you stay with your own quote unquote people? They let you down. And they leave you with the scraps if they think that you're at the lowest bottom, the lowest totem pole. And you get stories like this, where she is a female incel. She ain't the only one. Overseas, that the female incel is an academic, because guess what? The difference between overseas and in America is that the women in America are they gas each other up. In overseas, the women are in competition with each other. The women who lose, they're at the bottom. The competition is fierce. This is the reason why a lot of these women over here who try to bring that feminism bullshit over in other countries end up failing, right? They tried to do it in Japan, failed. Tried to do it in Thailand, failed. Mind you, remember 4 years ago when a woman came to Thailand and tried to blast the red light district? She got banned. But they didn't talk about that, right? So the funny part about what these people hide from you is that some of these women get treated just as bad and even worse than passport bros, than the men who are outcast. I was watching the Andrew show and they were going on and on about how you can get women over here and this and this and that. And for some reason, I'm like, no one ever had this conversation about there's some men who just don't vibe with that. They don't want to be in the same places. They don't like the same TV shows as you. They don't want to dress up like you. They don't want to smell like you. They want to do things a lot differently. And if you only have two options for guys to get women, the battery is fully charged, then you feel that a society is supposed to be multiple options. And for some reason, you keep thinking that people have to do these two options just to get females. And they were talking about game and this, and I'm like, this shit is some juvenile stuff. I thought some of you was more advanced than that. Instead of just calling somebody lame and this and this and that. I'm like, sometimes I like Andrew shows, sometimes I don't. Like, I remember what made me stop watching him like years ago when he lost his first channel was when his it was his opinions on pedos, female pedos. And I don't know if it was a back and forth, but I was like, look, man, that's not every kid's dream to have sex with an older woman. I said, y'all rejecting it. I said, they're going to get younger. These women, guys like y'all, is the reason why these women are gonna keep getting younger and younger and younger. They're gonna start targeting younger. They're gonna start targeting younger boys and girls at like 5 or 6 years old. Guess what? We're in that time where there's pedo females that are targeting 5-year-old boys and girls because they think they can get away with it. So I was like, nah, I'm good, and I stopped watching them for like 2-3 years. Came back, seen this channel, and I was like, oh shit, where is he at? Where's the channel? And then I found him again, right? But sometimes he have good discussions and things that they're not talking about. But then it's like when you get to the point, it's like that juvenile shit of like, yeah, you can stay here. If Orlando was so great, then most of the guys in Orlando would be winning. They would say they're winning, but then that's it's par for the course for a lot of mindsets. Some of these guys who talk for Passport Bros, they be the biggest against it. They don't like people having options or something, right? Or not having options. They don't think that certain guys deserve certain options, right? So, as you see, this is what she looks like. She was playing with filters the whole time. And this was her last, her picture right there when she was crying. Right there. And then she jumped out of the video, out of the window. This is a voice message, I think, of her.
Всем просто похуй на меня. Всем просто похуй на меня, блядь. Даже если я сдохну, блядь, они придут. Они придут, блядь, на мои похороны, будут смеяться надо мной, блядь, над моими постами, сука. Они будут говорить, что я троллю, блядь, что не рофлю я, блядь, не рофлю. Всех снова приветствую на данном.
Now, this is in Russian. And we're going to see what they say. Let's see. I followed her for 2 years and regularly began seeing her as a spiritual sister. I wanted to share her pain. Yes, sometimes she said unacceptable things out of anger, but TikTok has been taken more seriously and not marking mental illness people. In her defense, I say she often stood up for the weak and advocate for feminism, even if she didn't say it directly. She showed her raw and blah 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 for girls. Thank you for your comment. It's a shame that she's no longer here. She was never able to recover. Where did she blog? I stumbled upon your channel, blah blah blah. I was like that myself. I'm lonely, and many of my friends are lonely too. So it's sad and misery we didn't meet. It's a pity. Normal men just don't look at external beauty. They always elevate on her inner qualities. Sometimes you can be beautiful. I feel sorry for her. I didn't believe her. I thought she was trolling. I understood her at first, but it was imaginable, just like blah blah blah. I didn't realize. So I came across the channel, blah blah blah. So let me see if there's any new ones. Where's the proof she had when her channel ever proved that she didn't? And
battery level is 70%.
So I don't know who this chick is right here. but she seemed like she's a blogger or something. It's a different girl. I don't know if this ain't this her or not. Let me see. Let's see. I don't know who that is. So there's a widespread worldwide of epidemic of women who feel like they can't really get to the beauty standards. And these are the women who usually get with some passport bros. See, the systems, things always come together certain ways, right? Where there's people who think that they're alone and they find a way to get to each other, right? So there's a lot of females overseas who are nothing wrong with them. They look better than an average girl's hair by certain better standards, right? But a lot of them are female incels, like this Russian chick. And they have a whole movement of that. They really do think that they're the most ugliest girls possible, right? And the reality is that a lot of the girls end up taking their own lives, right? But we have one in America in the 1970s. Her name was Christina Chubbuck, or Chubbuck. She took her life on national TV because she was alone. A lot of people won't talk about this. One of the origins of the female incels and, this stuff like this happening. And this is me having an argument for the fact is that if a lot of these girls wasn't trapped, being trapped in their own culture or being trapped by their own race of men, then maybe they would have been more happier, right? She is not ugly, but, let's see what happens. She spoke to her family at length about her struggles with depression and blah blah blah. She did not form into attention to blah blah blah. On live television, she attempted overdose blah blah blah, frequently made references to the event. She's been seeing a psychologist up to several weeks before her passing. Her mom, blah blah blah, about her tendencies. And she fears she will be fired. Here we go. She focused on her lack of intimacy is generally considered to be the driving force of her depression. Her mom later said that it was simply because her personal life wasn't enough. She blah 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 was approaching 30 and she was still a virgin who never been on more than 2 dates with a man. Her brother later recalled a man that she had went out with sometimes and before going to blah blah blah, and agreed that his sister had trouble connecting socially in the town. He believed the self-depression for dateless contributes to her depression. According to blah blah blah, she baked a cake for him on his day, and she sought a romantic to find out he was already involved with the sports anchor. With her depression, her lack of partnership, blah blah blah, she was there, overall removed. A week before deletion, she told news editor that she had a gun and joked about taken her life on air. Later started that she was blah blah blah, and she was blah 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 blah, blah, right? Then she said, well, good time. It was my God, and this is blah blah blah. That was blah blah blah. And this is it, right? The revolver. On the morning, she confessed to her co-workers that she had read a newscast and she had never done before. The morning, blah 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 blah, and this and this and that. The reels of gun had jammed and would not. Struggled it off and said on camera. To keep the picture of blah blah blah, the blood and guts, 40 but believed that it was blah. She drew a revolver, popped herself, right ear, and she fell violently. So, she was not an ugly woman, but the fact is, her limitation in her race, it made her depressed. See, the thing is that nobody has time to try to date a million people. Nobody has time to try to go to one state. Oh yeah, your boy Super Sly said this about a couple years ago and said, you need to go to 50 states in order to find the girl you want. You can't find none in the 50 states. Somebody else said something like that, and I kind of checked them about that in the comment sections. So, now you get it. Now you get the fact is that they want you to be so trapped within America or in your race that you will give up or you will submit to what they want and be unhappy. They want you to take your own life. They want you to submit to what they want, to be a slave for them, and to be unhappy forever. They're never going to expose how the overseas relationships are pretty deadly. This is a TikTok couple from last year. She stabbed him in one of the videos. And was pointing the knife and about to stab him again. And they was constantly fighting, and she bragged about him being toxic. Them having a toxic relationship, right? After she stabbed him, she was arrested. That's what they said. She was arrested. But the cops let her go. So, in order to get revenge, he basically argued he was sat in the back of the car and he strangled her. He deleted her. Now, I seen the full picture of her, on some of the sites. And it wasn't that bad, but basically you seen her basically he choked her with the seatbelt and tried to burn the car, and he failed, and they captured him, and basically you see him on the road. A lot of the relationships in Brazil end in like self-deletion, self-deletion. But these people wouldn't notice who talk shit online and say, well, passport, they don't want passport bros over there. A lot of these women don't even like their own men anymore. Anybody who go to Brazil and talk to the women over in Brazil, they don't like Brazilian men. They have a hate for Brazilian men. But a lot of them are open to foreigners. Even the most feminist women who are so-called celibate, they will literally marry a passport bro in a second if it means that they don't have to be around the Brazilian guys. Don't that sound familiar? That's why I call it the mismatch. This is bucket right here. So let's show you the countries who have the most self life taken in the world for women. There we go. Haiti, Jamaica. These are the top countries that have the most violent towards women. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Honduras, Ecuador, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia is under there. Domestic violence. Russia, Bolivia, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Canada. Why? Where's United States? Oh shit, we have the lowest. Sweden got some. Let's go by the highest of femicides. This is what they're not gonna show you, all right? When they talk shit about passport bros. And it's not really, I can't say you're taking advantage, but you're going in and dating women that these people don't seem to like or don't appreciate, because a lot of these guys end up taking these women's lives and end up deleting and self-deleting themselves, or at least deleting the chick and then running off over some jealousy stuff. There's girls that I talk to in Brazil is like, I'd rather date a black dude from America because I know that if something goes wrong, I'm going to be alive to correct my actions that I did, the mistake that I did. But if I'm staying here, I have to watch it. Some of them have to stay with abusive guys because if they do anything wrong, they end up getting deleted. So let's see. The highest by country: Ecuador, Jamaica and Honduras, Ghana, and South Africa. Wow, I thought South Africa was so cool for passport bros, right? Africa, the Americans, European. So the funny thing about these people is that they don't understand that there's almost 195 countries in the world. They're speaking for certain countries when most passport bros are in multiple different countries. And the funny thing about this is that South America has 220 million women in South America. How many women in Asia? $2.35 billion to 2.40 billion in Asia. So you mean to tell me that they spoke to everybody and everybody's on the same page? They don't have a ranking system of their own. They're not talking about the fact that there's a lot of female incels who there's a lot of competition between women, and a lot of these women pretty much lose. Why do you think that when you see some of these Passport Bros videos, and some of these women run up to these guys and try to, you know, talk to them and stuff when they see a black guy come to the American black guy come there, because a lot of them were shitted on. A lot of them were treated like shit. And they see black guys and they understand that black guys are, if a black guy is able to travel, they can actually connect with the guy, because that's what most black dudes are, they got treated like shit. And they know what it's like to be treated like shit. That's why it's weird that you would care, they would care about a small percent of guys who are ugly to them, they have no game, they have no swag, blah blah blah, whatever, and they're leaving, right? The loud dudes, the piece of shit guys who left and went overseas, those guys don't count, because they were passport pookies and they were just opportunists to try to ruin something. They were a bunch of, they were, how can I put it? They are a bunch of dysfunctional, dirty piece of shit guys who should have never been in anywhere near the traveling space. They took over the traveling space because they got bored with the hood bullshit that they were doing. Same thing with Floyd. Oh yeah, by the way, Floyd, it was a woman who was considered the ringleader of in Brazil, and she got arrested and turned herself in to try to put it all on Floyd. I knew that Floyd wasn't the master brains of the operation. It was somebody else, and he don't speak the language.
Battery level is 80%.
But Floyd was the poster child of what Austin Holloman did, right? The things that they're not telling you is that some women overseas is treated an outcast just like some men over here are. And a lot of these chicks are dropping like flies.